Hey guys, I wanted to chime in real briefly on this topic of playing outside and that kind of outside tonality to build tension. I don't feel like I'm an expert in any way on doing it. It's not something I do that much of when I'm playing. And it's funny, I mean, I've studied the concept a lot. I studied jazz, and so I get it intellectually, but I don't feel like personally I've ever been able to make use of a lot of this stuff in a way that sounds musical and sounds, correct. The idea basically, this this really could not be any less scientific, but what I do basically is I take a note, I single out a note um, over the key that I'm playing in, and that note may or may not even belong to the key I'm playing in, but I just kind of land on it and decide I like the sound of it. And then what I'll do is build a triad off of that note. And the triad that I build, it can almost be random. I mean, you got to play around with it and kind of figure out that some stuff works better than others. It takes some practice. But I think, the fact that that note is stacked within a triad, even if that triad is not directly related to the key that I'm playing in, the fact that it's in that triad kind of gives it like a little bit of like internal logic or whatever that sort of makes it work. And then the real key for it, as we've mentioned in a couple of the threads that we've already had going, what it's really all about is figuring out where it wants to resolve. And usually that resolution comes in the form of a half step, like one of the notes that you're landing on is a half step away from one of the chord tones of the key that you're playing in. And so, you kind of got to listen for that like pull of that half step wanting to pull you up or down to that chord, to the chord tone. So I can hopefully pull out a couple examples here and make them sound halfway decent for you, and I'll kind of show you what I mean. All right, so I got a backing track for Sand going here, A Dorian. Establish the sound of A Dorian, and maybe I like the sound of that sixth, the F sharp. So I'll hang on that note, and then what I'll maybe do is figure out a triad that incorporates that note. Well, there's a little E flat minor triad right there. I don't know if this has anything to do with any scale that people would normally use over A minor, but so I played off of that triad. I listened for the resolution of this B flat wanting to pull me back down home to the A. Another one I'll use a bunch would be actually the G sharp, the major seventh. That's a cool one in a minor key. It kind of implies like the melodic minor scale, I guess. So again, I'll establish the tonality of playing in A minor, A Dorian, land on that note, and then I'll like, ooh, hey, I like the sound of that note, so then I'll build a triad off of that, and that's A flat. Maybe I'll play an A flat minor triad. So built an A minor triad. I heard that half step resolution of this E flat wanting to pull me up to the fifth of the A minor. I guess if you wanted to look at it as a side slipping thing, in this case, you're sliding down a half step, playing an A flat minor for a few seconds, and then resolving back home to A minor. But that idea of just kind of taking a note and then building an almost random triad off of it can produce some interesting ideas. Maybe I'll try one more with that E flat, and I'll just do an E flat triad, right? So A minor for a minute. Played an E minor or an E flat triad there, resolving back to A minor. That E flat could also be present in a C minor triad. That might give me some interesting ideas over A minor as well. Pretty cool sound there. So that's just an idea that maybe you can sort of play around with on your own. Just pick a random note, build a triad off of it, and then resolve one of the notes of that triad back home to the key that you're in.